Caution, no hiking trail beyond this point. So we're gonna see what can you do without a hiking trail. Without an official hiking trail. Actually, I often say that I could hike all day and my legs won't hurt. And in fact, today I'm actually doing that. I've been hiking all day in sub-zero temperatures, and in fact, for part of it I've been running, and yeah, and my legs don't hurt. Energy is starting to go down. At the same time, the sun is starting to go down, and I'm just turned around from Spookbeekimi, the pond, and on my way home now. So I've got a whole return journey to go, about 10 kilometers, and it'll probably be after dark before I get home. And so today is 23rd of October 2012, and we're in the midway through the moon Itautstoi, when the cold weather arrives. And in fact, it has arrived. Last night we got our first blizzard of the year. It's been different than most of our first blizzards of the year. Usually, first blizzard is one that we call Makoyistsomoki, the wolf cap, and it kind of the snow blows in and it's wet, sticky, and kind of sticks sideways to everything. In the past, you're not really supposed to go out, be outside during that snowstorm, because that's a real dangerous, Makoyistsomoki is a real dangerous one, because it's wet and sticky, real easy to get hypothermia, real easy to die in that kind of storm if you're not close to shelter. So, but this year didn't happen like that. Temperature dropped down enough that it's pretty cold. I think it's probably right now maybe -7 below zero, not sure, but it's cold enough that the snow came in mostly powdery and dry. So anyway, I always like to get out in the first snow, and as many as I can afterwards. We had enough snow that the schools here closed, and usually the schools here don't close for snow, but it was slick enough on the roads still that they decided this morning. Most schools, at least on the reserve, maybe not here in Lethbridge, closed up. So the college was closed, so I decided, well, I'm going to take the opportunity. I'm going to walk from my house to Spookbeekimi, which I very rarely do. You know, it's a almost 20-kilometer circuit, and I figured I'd do some training on the way and just get outside and see what's happening out here. I wanted to share some of my perspectives on training in nature. Something I'm just kind of realizing for myself as I've begun this year to do physical training in nature. But for me, being out in nature has been a long time thing. You know, I've been out in this area in particular about 7 years now. On at least a weekly basis, I spend a few hours out here. Usually I spend about 10 hours a week out here. There's a phenomena here I want to show you. You can hear these geese. You can see them lined up along the edge of this island. This is the start of their winter behavior. These rivers are going to freeze over, like the pond is already starting to freeze over. This river is going to freeze over, and it's just going to be little pockets of open water left, usually where it's kind of shallow and the water kind of has to go through there so it doesn't ice over there. But in those areas is where the geese spend the night. They stay here all winter. In the past they might not have stayed around all winter, but now that we have these monocrop agriculture fields, they can find a lot of grain, and they hang out in the stubble fields and eat all day, and then at night they come to the river, and they'll find, they'll have their open water areas. These are just these little open crags in the river, and that's where they'll spend the night, and they'll line up right along the edge of the ice like that, and hunker down. And when it starts getting dark, you can't tell that they're there. When they're lined up along the edge like that, it just looks like the natural transition between the ice and the open river crag. And so it's part of their defense to line up along the edge like that, so that they go mostly unnoticed. Now the coyotes are, have over the years, they caught on to this somewhat, and so usually during the night the geese will be paid a visit by a coyote or two, and then they'll have an alternate open crag that they'll know where to go to. If a coyote visits them, they'll up and leave, go to that other crag. Maybe later in the night they get visited by coyotes there too, so have to lift up, go back to the first crag, back and forth a few times during the night. Anyway, I got to know this about the geese and lots of other things about the animals out here and the plants by spending a lot of time out here. Like I said, I usually spend about 10 hours a week. Just lately, as I've started, really, I think since I've started my physical training, I've been spending a little bit less time out here paying attention to their behaviors. But I think, for me, since I was 12 years old, I've been doing something of the sort of paying attention to the plants and animals, and really intensely like that for last 6 or 7 years, to where, in my immediate region, the natural areas around my house, I pretty much know all the plants and animals that reside here, and I know their behaviors, their cycle of behaviors throughout the annual round of what I consider 2 seasons, summer and winter, and also throughout the lunar cycle. I pay attention to the moons. To me, being out in nature is pretty much the most spiritual experience that a person can have. For me anyway, it's where I actually feel like I'm having spiritual experiences, and it's what I consider my spiritual training, as well as other kind of training, but definitely spiritual. Why do I say that? To me, what's spiritual is life, and the connections that we have between ourselves and all the other life forms, and not only all the other life forms, but the cosmos, the sun, the moon, the earth, the stars. We just shifted into winter here, for real, and that's a cosmological event. That happens because of our relationship to the sun and the way that we move through space. And to me, that's the spiritual stuff. It's not any kind of like, invisible, thing that you have to have faith in or believe. it's something you can see out in the real world. This reality is the spiritual world for me. And so when I'm out here and I'm engaging in my relationship with these plants and animals, first of all, just getting to know them better, then I'm in spiritual practice. Those relationships are the big part of my spiritual practice. Now, you know, it's one thing to get to know all of them, like be a naturalist type of a person, that you know all about the plants and the animals and all of that. You know why the geese are lined up on the edge of the ice as the sun goes down here. It's one thing to know that kind of stuff, but that's only part of the project. It's an important part, I think, for me to become a complete human being, and that's my, you know, for my spiritual training, becoming a complete human being means relating to the rest of the world as a human being. And that's different than relating to the rest of the world, you know, as a whatever other kind of categories, or race or culture or class or gender or whatever. But really relating to the world as a human being is talking about your relationship to the other plants and animals, not relationships between yourself and other human beings. That stuff's, to me, as far as I'm concerned, all the political stuff around relationships between human beings, that's all bullshit. We're wasting our time feeding energy into that stuff, because what we really are and what we need to get back to being or understanding is that we're human beings. So this has been my project. I didn't realize it at first that was my project, but you know, a few years ago I finally kind of realized, yeah, this is about becoming a complete human being. That's what I'm doing here, spending so much time outside, trying to get to know this place, trying to relate to these plants and animals. And you know, for me, step one was kind of getting to know them, like I'm talking about, getting to know their behaviors and how they change all year round, and how they relate to each other, the ecology of this place. That was kind of step one. But step two is, okay, as a human being, how am I supposed to participate out here? You know, how am I supposed to respond to the events going on out here? Because, you know, if a magpie is out here, for instance, a magpie is a real good example too, because they're you know, they're a very intelligent species as far as I'm concerned, way more intelligent than we are, and they pay a lot of attention. They know every plant and animal out here, and they know every day what's changed, what's new, what's going on out here. They pay a lot of attention. That's the kind of attention that I want to foster. That kind of always aware, always alert, always aware of what's going on around you in your environment. So that's one thing. But then the magpie's not only doing that, because they also have to live, right? So, you know, just that awareness is kind of the mind aspect of being out here, right? And then you also have the physical body part of it. Like, you can't, if you're the magpie, you're gonna die if all you do is just watch these other animals and pay attention to what they're doing. You need to feed yourself at a very, very minimum. And so some of the attention, a good part of the attention, goes toward what's available for food. You know, especially in seasons like we're going into now, when food is scarce. So that gives me a clue as a human being how I'm supposed to engage with this place too. Like every other animal out here, I need to engage with it not only as being highly aware of the environment, and most animals are very highly aware. That's why the deer take off running when they hear you coming. That's why the grouse, pheasants and stuff flush out. They know you're there way before you know about them. You wouldn't even know about them if they didn't show you. So but not only being aware, but then engaging in the primary relationship with the others, and that is food. So probably about I'm absolutely the same time I really started doing my awareness training out here, I also started doing my food training. And in fact, it was coming out to look for bird eggs to feed at a ceremony that really got me started into my awareness training to begin with, because you can't really just go out and get bird eggs if you don't know where the birds are placing their nests, and you're not there in that little window of time when they're laying their eggs before the eggs are too far along incubated. So yeah, engaging it with food. So I harvest a lot of plant food out here. Harvest a lot of plant food. I also harvest like animal food as well. In that I hunt. I'll fish, I'll snare, I'll trap, all that kind of stuff as part of my engagement with this place, and I consider it a spiritual engagement again. Now I do notice that if I'm out here doing my training in awareness and just kind of like watching what's going on out here, taking real close note of what all the different plants and animals are doing during my visit, I am strongly aware in that context. But I notice that if I'm busy picking berries or digging roots or harvesting greens, or if I'm trying to hunt a deer or something, then my awareness goes way down to all the other stuff that doesn't have to do with the hunting or the gathering. And so I see that as something that I need to work on, right? That's something that's it's kind of a flaw right now in my engagement out here, because that's not the way that the other animals are. The other animals can maintain an awareness while also going after their food. So that's the ideal in terms of that, is to not drop the awareness to go after the food. Now, when I say that I hunt, one thing I want to make clear is I don't like the guns, right? I don't like the rifles, and when I hear explosions out here, to me, that's not part of our natural engagement with this place. There's no other animal is just going to explode something at you from 300 meters away, and it knocks you dead. So to me, that's unnatural. It's unnatural in the same way. Yeah, I mean, we made it and we're natural, so some people would argue that it's natural. But when I look at like big industry and monocrop agriculture and deforestation, these kind of things, yeah, we're doing that, but I don't think that's natural. I think that's an abuse, because we're supposed to be in a relationship, right, with all of these others, non-humans. And if all we're doing is taking, then not giving anything back, then that's an abuse of the relationship. Eventually, you know, where it's leading us is that we fit in less and less well out here. We've forgotten how to be humans. So, you know, if I'm gonna go hunting, I'm not gonna use an explosive to do it. I use another means. I have a bow, depending on the animal. If I'm hunting a smaller mammal, you know, I might just use a club. But yeah, so, you know, me, I do feel that engaging with the food in the place and the hunting, that stuff, it's important. But, I mean, it's important on many levels, I think. And I'm not talking about this, like, you know, this, the usual conservation stuff about, you know, how you need to cull the herds and all that kind of stuff, because I think that's bogus too. You know, North America used to be so filled with animals. Today we can't even fathom seeing anything like it. You know, out here on the plains where I live, there's millions of bison, and along with them deer, antelope, elk, moose, and all the predators, the bears, the wolves, and all the scavengers, and including the eagles, the vultures, the corvids, you know, so many animals. And you know, what I heard was that if you walk across the grasslands in the past, practically every step you take, there's birds coming out, sparrows, grass nesters, and these, because that's how many birds there were, you know, that they'd fill the skies in ways that we can't even, today we can't even, we've never seen anything like it in our lifetimes. So, you know, for me, when these bullshit biologists say that we need to cull the herds, this kind of a thing by hunting, I think that's not what we need. That's not the case. The herds could be way more large, and it would be a good thing. The carrying capacity of this land is much more than what we're witnessing today. But what I'm talking about is our real long-time human relationship to these animals, these plants, and this place. So for me, you know, one of the things I notice when you're hunting or fishing is I think you should take what you're going to take from the animal right there at the kill site, and leave the rest out there for the other animals that rely on deer and stuff to eat. Because what I notice here now in the winter is a lot of the birds that would normally be eating off of the remains of the carcasses that we hunt, now they have to literally eat shit during the winter in order to survive. I'm talking about the magpies, talking about the crows, even to an extent the eagles. They have to follow around coyotes and eat their shit so that they get some nutrition. And the reason that is because of us, because we're not being human beings, and we're not leaving them carcasses. So, you know, if I hunt, then I leave carcass. What I found out last winter, and what I'm doing now, is for the winter I really don't have to hunt big animals like deer, because when I go to and from work and it's, you know, it's like a freezer outside all day long, I have a big drive to work and I find roadkill deer, and they've just been like hit, and maybe hit in the last 24 hours. They'll be in the ditch, and I'll open them up and I'll get some of the good meat that's not all bruised, and open it up real nice for all the other animals. They can come have their feast. You know, it's part of our role, and we don't understand that anymore. Nowadays, you know, those animals that we eat off of those carcasses, they go around, they'll find, like, say a cow died, and they find the carcass, and they'll eat like the nipples, the asshole, the nose, lips, tongue, eyeballs, you know, genitals, these kind of things off of them. And then these lunatics think that it's aliens that are doing that, when it's the birds. And that's not their choice. It's not their choice food. They would eat better parts of the animal if we just open it up for them, but they can't get it open on their own. They have always relied on us to open it for them, and we're not opening it anymore. In fact, you know, we don't give back, and that's a big problem. That's part of what we need to be working on in our relationships out here, is giving back. We are in a culture, industrial culture, it's a mining culture, and it's just all about taking the energy out of these places to run machines to do more mining. And so we don't give back. We don't give back anything. We don't give back our garbage. We don't give back our own dead bodies. When we die, we won't even give back our human waste. Because we feel like anything that's biological is actually biohazard. It's freaking crazy, but we see waste products and you know, carcasses, the dead, and all of that. We see them as biohazard. Actually, you know, they're what's needed in the biosystem to feed so many animals. But we treat them as biohazard, so we don't give them back. And if we find them, we'll get them out, you know, get them out of nature. And so that's messed up. So yeah, so these are the two aspects of my training out here. Is you can hear the geese are starting to come back, because the sun's really starting to go down now. But yeah, these are two aspects of my training. Is awareness as a first step, and natural foods. And at the same time as I engage with natural foods, and like I said, I do think that we're helping the ecosystem in lots of ways by engaging with them. I think that animals need us to do that. I think that plants need us to do that. But then now, this year, I'm starting to get into physical training out here. And again, like with dealing with food, I don't want the physical training to pull me away from the awareness. So like today, as I've been going around, you know, some of the things that I've noticed, I noticed a really good, nice, full bullberry patch. Probably gonna go back to maybe even as early as tomorrow to harvest the bullberries. I noticed a really good patch of choke cherries. You know, they're kind of at the end of their season. I might be able to salvage them. I might not, but for next year I'll know where that patch is. You know, I've taken a look at what's going on with the ducks, with the geese, and with the waters. And you know, I am keeping aware as I'm out here. Not as aware as I would be if I was fully out here just for the awareness and not for the physical stuff. So again, you know, that's a flaw, because an animal can be out here, and if it's not eating, it might be just enjoying. It might just be playing, moving through the brush, and it's still going to be highly aware. And so, you know, that's what we need. We need to be able to be highly aware. We need to be able to engage with the place in terms of food, and we need to be able to physically move through the place with grace and elegance and be able to move, you know, in relation to other living beings like that. Like, you know, I look at martial artists, and I look at these parkour guys, and you know, very few people out there have the kind of training and experience now to be able to move like these guys move. These guys move. If they're really good at their craft, they move very elegantly in relation to other people and in relation to their environments. And you know, that's, I think, what's needed, because we are animals, right? And we should be able to move. Like at the beginning of this hike here, I showed you that sign, said no hiking trail beyond this point. You know, what it's a symbol of is that most people aren't able to hike if there's no trail. If there's no like paved or, you know, at least graveled, established, engineered trail for them, they won't hike. And so, you know, to me, like I look around and I see us kind of like zombie people now in so many ways, and the physical is a part of that, because you know, any little obstacle that comes in our way and we really don't know how to navigate it, or you know, if we get attacked by a person, another person, or an animal, we really don't know how to adequately move to defend ourselves. So in a sense, we are like those zombies that can't move, right? You throw a little fence in front of them, or you close a door, they don't know how to open the door, right? That's kind of how we are in nature. Nature's full of fences and closed doors, and we're built to be able to move over them and around them and go through them. And you know, I mean, you look at the size of our arms, length of our arms. We got these huge long arms. We're simian, right? We should be able to brachiate our way around these trees without too much problem. But we've given it up for something. I don't know what. Because some people think it's intelligence, but I don't think we've got all that much intelligence these days. So whatever we gave it up for, evolutionary wise or culture wise, I don't think it was worth it, and I think we need to get it back. So for me, I began to realize that my addition of the physical training out here, running and jumping and trying to practice moving in ways that I'm not used to moving, and it includes some martial arts. Even though I've done martial arts off and on good part of my life, I'm still no master of it. So all of this that I'm bringing outdoors now, that I've started to bring outdoors in the last year, I realized that for me, this is the right time for me to bring it outdoors, because I've taken the time to get to know the other plants and the other animals out here. I've taken the time to start engaging with them as a human being in terms of food. The thing that's missing from my engagement out here now is learning to play. Like when you're not looking for food, animals will play. And sometimes they'll play just moving around an area. Sometimes they'll play fight. And so these are the two kind of things, the martial arts and the parkour kind of stuff. Be able to move around your environment. This is what I'm interested in. So yeah, so for me, it makes real good sense why I'm starting to do that training outside. Plus I really enjoy being outside, so for me there's no better place to be doing it. And again, it's spiritual. It's a spiritual, physical training. I'm not out here just recreating like these guys, you know, that come here just to jog, or these guys that come here to ride their bikes, or whatever kind of recreation, you know, that come to drift their raft down the river or whatever. It's not about that. For me, it's about engaging with this place, relating with the other species, and even with my own species as a human being instead of something else. You know, that's my overall mission. And so that's what the physical stuff is about. It's not just about me recreating. It's about me being able to be a complete human being. And a complete human being should be able to move through his environment and should be able to move in relation to others if he's attacked, something like that. And so how do the animals do that? Well, they spend a lot of time moving through their environment, practicing different landing, different you know, swinging from this and that, and they practice fighting. They play fight, they wrestle and stuff. So so this is what I'm engaged in out here. This is what I'm engaged in, and it is, to me, it's a spiritual thing. It's about becoming a full human being out here in relation to the animals, to the plants, to the cosmos. Yeah, so this is what's hit me. So this physical thing has come. I've adopted it anew just when I needed to. Just when I needed to. Just when it made sense to start adding it to my training and my life out here. So I'm excited to see what's gonna come of all of it and what my next big lesson for my practice out here is gonna be.